Our guest today is the founder of the award-winning homegrown brand Carmen's Best Ice Cream, known for its exceptional quality. Established in 2009, Carmen's Best has grown significantly, even gaining recognition from Pope Francis. And in 2022, Carmen's Best entered a strategic partnership with Manny Pangilinan's Metro Pacific Investments Corporation, which acquired a majority, 51% stake in the company. Here with us to talk about this and more is Mr. Ice Cream himself, Paco Magsaysay.
Hi, Maiki. Thank you for having me today.
Hi, Paco. We're happy to have you. We want to hear all about this sweet success story of yours. How did this premium artisanal ice cream brand come to be?
Well, my father and his friends started a dairy farm in Bai, Laguna in 2007. And that got me into looking at making other products aside from fresh milk. And that's how we got into ice cream making in 2011.
Looking back at your childhood, what were your favorite ice cream brands, and how did that affect your vision for Carmen's Best?
Well, growing up in the 70s, I would go to the Magnolia Ice Cream House in Quezon City. And then later, I remember Coney Island ice cream in Green Hills. So ice cream has always been a big part of my childhood and memory.
You know, Selecta, Magnolia, big players in the ice cream industry from decades ago.
Yes.
What was the gap that you wanted to fill with Carmen's Best?
Well, I wanted to fill the premium ice cream market. I felt that there was no local player in that segment. And, you know, we were quite surprised how our company slowly kept on growing because we honestly did not have a 3, 5, or even a 10-year plan. We just sort of went with the flow.
Interesting. And so much love went into this. You named the brand after your daughter.
Yes.
And similarly, your Lola, Carmencita, also shares
Yes.
a similar iteration of that name.
Yeah.
How did this personal touch affect what you put into the brand and your vision for it?
Yeah. Well, I feel that the sincerity in coming up with a premium product and the fact that I always said that we were not after market share, we were just after making the best possible ice cream. So that's what guided us from the start and up to now. That's what guides us.
Talking about market share, what is the current size of the ice cream industry in the country?
Well, when I started in 2010, it was a 30 billion peso industry. And I just researched this morning, but it's now apparently a 40 billion. So I was quite surprised how much it's grown in 10 years, or sorry, 12 years.
Well, we live in the tropics. Ice
That's
cream
right.
is an important part
Yeah.
of our lives here. Okay.
Yeah, so you know, it's been growing annually at about 5% since we started the business. And yeah, I mean, our segment, which is the premium segment, has been also growing a lot. Yeah.
How were you able to maintain that high standard of quality as you scaled the business?
I think it's important to keep in mind that that's what separates us from the big guys. And, you know, we're not looking to be a major player or try to unseat the top guys in the industry. So we know that we cater to a niche market. And we want to maintain our reputation and good quality for this particular niche market.
It's a 40 billion peso industry.
Yes.
And dominating that would be Selecta at about a lion's share.
Yes.
70%?
Yes.
Okay, what insights can you gather from this?
Well, even let's say you were to compare it to a telco business, the CD&E market really will dominate, or it's, as you said, the lion's share of the market. And since it's hard to go head to head with such big companies and such deep pockets and very well entrenched in the market, we decided to, you know, create a niche and just serve that small market for us.
And it worked out for you.
It worked out perfectly.
Speaking of big companies with deep pockets,
Yes.
In 2022, you sold a majority of your business, 51% stake
Yes.
to the MVP Group, and the valuation then was at $500 million. So
Yes.
half of that, you know.
Yes.
Interesting. What motivated you to sell Carmen's Best to the MVP Group? I know you weren't shopping it around,
Yes.
so tell us that story.
Yeah. We were actually, it was not even in the plan that we were going to sell or get an investor in. And it came out of nowhere that the group of Sir MVP reached out to us. I think everything happens for a reason, and it was a good time for us to actually entertained the offer. And between us, me and my father, and the board, we decided to, let go of majority of the company.
How did you know that 2022, that was the right time to sell and that this was the right group to do it with?
Well, it was still the latter part of the pandemic, and even during the pandemic, when a lot of industries were shut down, airline, tourism, that was a big part of our market. And we were paying our employees all their full salary. It was getting difficult for me personally because I was pulling money out of my own pocket to support the staff. We have 38 people in the business. So I approached my father. I said, it might be time to think about closing the business because I'm not sure how long this pandemic will last. And it had been already a year that I was pulling money out of my pocket. And so he said, no, let's just wait because you still have to milk the cows. I mean, the cows have to be milked. If not, they get mastitis. No? So we continued the business, and buti na lang somebody reached out to us and wanted to work with us, partner with us.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. What significant changes have been ushered in since the MVP group came along?
Well, they manage the business now. They're 51%, so they have control of management, and I sit on the board. So the big changes are, I think, mindset. I mean, they have a different approach to growing a business compared to an SME, which was what we were before, an SME. So the approach is just very different, and I think it was time for us to step aside and make them grow the business.
Right, and they can do just that.
Yes.
So, Paco, dairy sourced in the Philippines is less than 1%.
Yes.
Can you tell us why this is so?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons would be the lack of support that the government gives the dairy farmers. In other Southeast Asian...
It's just not attractive for them to get in the business of dairy farming. We need more incentives from the government in order to usher in more more investments from farmers into this business.
Yes. So in other Southeast Asian countries, there is support from government to dairy farmers, even cattle farmers, whereas in the Philippines, there's hardly any support. So it's hard for businesses to scale up or to even to keep their farms running because it's very challenging to have a dairy farm in a tropical country like the Philippines.
But somehow you guys were able to make it work, and you were even able to pivot into ice cream. All right, what advice can you give other entrepreneurs who are considering selling their businesses to a large conglomerate?
I think it's important to understand, especially if you're going to work together, if you're not selling 100%, that you understand the mindset and how they do business, because it's like a marriage. You'll be working with them, you'll be doing business with them for the long run. Whereas if you were to sell 100%, then you're out of management, you're out of everything, then you don't have to worry about anything. So it really depends if it's a buy-in where they will only buy a percentage of your company, or they're going to buy 100% of your company. So it has a very different aspect to it. Yeah.
In choosing buyers, what should people be looking out for in a potential buyer?
Yeah. Well, if you're going to sell 100%, of course, you get maximum value. But if you're going to look at getting a partner in, it's more of a long-term play where you're hoping that a few years down the road, you'll have a higher return. Similar to what Injap did with Jollibee when he initially sold 70% of his company. When he sold the 30%, several years later, it was worth more than the 70% when he first sold. So I think those were the business lessons I kept in mind in doing this deal. So hopefully our 49% will be bigger than the 51% we sold.
Ah, so that's your vision. Okay, Can you describe the transition process after the sale? What was that like?
Well, of course, culture is different. It's a big company, whereas ours is a little bit more family style or family business. So I think they brought in a lot of professionalism and a lot of connections in the industry. I remember I was already dealing with SM for several years But when the MVP group came into our business, it was so easy for them to get a deal with SM. So I think things like that, it gave us a different, unlocked a lot of connections.
Speaking of unlocking doors and connections, your ice cream was enjoyed by Pope Francis on a return flight from Manila to Rome. He had 2 cups.
Yes.
How did this recognition impact your brand, and what key strategies do you employ to grow your business and connect with consumers?
I think with any business, there's always going to be events that take place that's totally out of your control. And I feel that this was one of those events where a few months earlier, at that time, Ramon Ang sold his majority stake back to the Lucio-Tan group. So at that time, they were serving the ice cream brand of Mr. Ang. And when it was bought out by the group of Mr. Lucio-Tan, and they didn't have an ice cream in their portfolio, they reached out to us to serve our ice cream in the business class outbound of Philippine Airlines. And that's how it started.
It's always a treat to see the Carmen's Best ice cream brand on the plane. Okay, so Paco, this industry was a 30 billion peso industry in 2010. Right now, 2024, it's a 40 billion peso industry. What's your growth outlook for this industry moving forward?
Well, I see it, maintaining the 5 to 7% growth as the years go on. So, the next several years will be quite interesting. And the fact that we're creating a bigger dent in the market in our little way, more people get to try it, more people look for it. So it's quite exciting.
Now, what is your personal favorite Carmen's Best ice cream flavor?
I like the pistachio. I like the Brazilian coffee and dark chocolate. So those are my favorite flavors.
Okay, but what do consumers like? What is your top-selling Carmen's Best flavor, and how have consumer preferences in general changed over the years? What was it when you first started and to this day?
It's pretty much maintained the top 5 selling flavors, which is salted caramel, malted milk, butter pecan, Brazilian coffee. And it's maintained pretty much the same top 5 flavors. But I hope that they get to try the other flavors because we make each flavor quite unique. We don't have a ice cream base where you just add a flavor and that's what it is. We really do all the flavors from scratch. So each one has a very different taste.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Paco Magsaysay. It was great to have you and to hear about your sweet success story.
Thank you so much.
All right. That was Paco Magsaysay, the founder of Carmen's Best Ice Cream.